The What It Takes Radio Company is proud to present a premiere edition, How to Be a World-Class Jesus Broadcaster. And today, the first episode in How to Be a World-Class Jesus Broadcaster. And obviously, it's about Jesus and broadcasting. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stan Houston, and I'm a long-time storyteller, teacher, radio broadcaster, business performance coach, and I'd like to introduce a brand new coaching experience which we call How to Be a World-Class Jesus Broadcaster. So, let's begin by telling you just exactly what the title means. This is not necessarily for Christian communicators. No, you could be involved in all kinds of the communication of the Christian faith. You could be a teacher, you could be a professor, you could be a pastor, a preacher, you could be a writer, a booker, a blogger. All of these people are, of course, Christian communicators. This is not necessarily for you. This is for those of you who, like me, are in front of a microphone and behind, front of a camera. It's right. We are in the business of electronic communication by radiation. That's right, electronic communication by radiation. And it has its appearance in the form of a radio program or a video performance. And that's who we're talking about, and that's who this program is for. Now, of course, things have changed mightily. When I first began as a Jesus broadcaster, most people listened to our programs on something like this. It was quite expensive at one time. It was put out by the German Grundig Company, and it was a transistor miniature shortwave radio. And it also had amplitude modulation, and it also had frequency modulation. So it was shortwave, AM and FM, and there were hundreds of stations. I was working for one of them, and we had huge towers and very powerful transmitters. And in our studio, the electronic music, the electronic voice was transformed into radio waves and sent around the world, and people who had something like this could listen to it. And millions did, and many still do. I had experience with Radio Netherlands and with the British Broadcasting Company because that was what they were in the business of doing too. Hundreds of radio stations were in the world and broadcasting all around the world. And there are still hundreds of thousands of them. But things have changed because most people don't listen to the radio anymore. Obviously, many of them listen to something like this, a phone or an iPad or a computer. That is the way many people are getting the messages they want in life. Now, what I would like to emphasize is that we want to be talking about learning how to use the electronic media. And as one person pointed out to me, one pastor said, Stan, I was taught how to preach. I was taught how to give a seminar. I was taught how to do a workshop, how to hold a small group. I was taught all of that in seminary. But no one ever taught me how to use the medium that most of my people get their messages from. No one taught me about a green screen or a microphone or a camera, or about how to do a radio program, or how to do a podcast, or how to do a video presentation. They just didn't teach us that. Their communication was the spoken word. And obviously the power of the spoken word person to person. Well, what we are about here is to say, this is for those of you who feel called or feel that it is part of what you want to be and do, is to actually learn how to do what I'm doing, what I do every day, which is produce radio programs, what I do almost every other day and sometimes many times a day, and that is to produce video programs that can be aired all around the world on such things as YouTube, on web stages and websites, and of course on all of the social media. That's what I do, and I think I do it well. My company is called What It Takes Radio, and we're in the business of helping men and women like you learn how to do what it takes to be radio broadcasters and performers. And of course, video is simply radio with pictures. And there's always a little bit of a controversy, as some would say. Sometimes the spoken word is more powerful than the spoken and video word. And then the video people say, oh no, if you have a picture and a personal expression, that makes the spoken word. That's a controversy that has no real winner and it has no real result. You will decide which media you should use based on a number of factors. For instance, if you want to catch people who are driving in their automobiles, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's certainly not very safe to have a radio program for them to watch while they're driving. You get the point. And there are times when it might be very, very helpful for the personality and the picture of the presenter, the performer, the pastor and the preacher to actually be a part of the presentation. So this is for those of you who want to be Jesus broadcasters. Now, I also point out that I mean that in a double meaning. There are lots of Christian programs about lots of things, lots of good things. Well, this is going to be about the people who really want to communicate the story of Jesus, the man, his mission, and his messages. Jesus broadcasters. There's a variety of ways they can do that, in song, in music, in speaking, in a variety of expressions that can be put on the radio. But it's about Jesus. There's a lot of good programming, but it's about other things. Certainly connected to the Christian religion and the Christian faith and the faith in Jesus, but we really want to focus on those of you who want to be experts in the Jesus message. And there's another reason we call it the Jesus broadcasters. We want to say, what would it be like, perhaps, if Jesus were here today? By the way, here's the question we'll really challenge you with. If Jesus were doing his ministry today, would he be on television? Do you think he'd be on the radio? Would he send tweets? Would he have social media? What would Jesus do if he were doing his ministry today? Well, that's not only a fun exercise, it's a very, very vital exercise for us to go through. We want, however, for the things we do on the radio and on the video platforms to be very reflective of the style, substance, and character of Jesus. Almost to say, if he would, this is perhaps what he would do and how he would do it. And please keep in mind, this is vital. If people want to meet Jesus, they're going to have to meet him in some respect through you. Marshall McLuhan said, remember, the media is always affecting the message. So if you use radio and television, the very message itself is going to be affected by the media. And so if the message is about Jesus, it's going to be affected by the very choice of media. We'll want to know how to deal with that. You see, it could be there's a lot more to learn. But here is our final statement for this lesson. In effect, if you want to be a Jesus broadcaster, you're going to have to learn how to be far more effective and far more concentrated and far more into the power of prayer. We're going to talk about that. If we are going to be Jesus broadcasters, I'm going to suggest that we're going to have to learn how to be perhaps a little more in-depth and a little more understanding, and perhaps even a little more receptive to the very power of prayer, which is not just crying out and saying help. A lot of times it's praising. It's certainly petitioning. Sometimes it's just shut up and listening. If we want to be men and women who are Jesus broadcasters, lesson 2, which will come up very shortly, will be our suggestion about how you can become a Jesus broadcaster, first of all, by making the commitment that I want to be one. I want to be a Jesus communicator. I want to be a Jesus broadcaster. And I want to learn how the entire concept of prayer is especially important for me as a Jesus broadcaster. I'm Stan Houston. Now, this is lesson 1. But I also want to add, as I will add to every lesson, this is not just my teaching you what you could do. This is also an everyday invitation. I'm not a young man anymore. In fact, I'm quite old. And I'm doing this because I want to pass this project on to people like you. It's not just that I want an audience. I want partners who say, I want to learn this so I can do this and so I can teach it to others. I want to be a teacher, a trainer, a coach who will help other people be world-class Jesus broadcasters. And that's what will be coming up next. World-class. Yeah, we mean that. And how to pray. I'm Stan Houston. Until that time, bye for now. Please reach out to us. I'm Stan Houston. StanHouston@gmail.com, witradio.net, 520-664-7002, USA.